The hospital intercom announced a pediatric code blue at 2:03 a.m. from a ward that hasn't treated children in 12 years. I was alone at the nurse's station when the speakers crackled to life, followed by that flat, automated voice every hospital uses, the kind so calm it makes everything worse. Code blue, pediatric response, room 148. Then silence. No alarms followed, no staff movement, no footsteps running down the hall. Nothing. I looked around, expecting at least some reaction. The respiratory tech at the end of the corridor didn't even glance up from his tablet. The charge nurse kept charting, like they hadn't heard it. I asked if anyone caught the page. They looked at me like I'd said nothing at all. There wasn't one, the charge nurse said. I checked the overhead log. No announcement recorded. But I know what I heard. Room 148 is on the east wing. Or it was. That section was converted to storage years ago after the pediatric unit shut down. I'd never even been down there. Still, I grabbed my radio and went. The farther I walked, the quieter the hospital got. Not late-night quiet, muted, like sound was being absorbed. By the time I reached the old East Wing doors, I couldn't hear my own footsteps anymore. The access panel should have denied entry. Instead, it unlocked the second I touched it. The hallway beyond was lit, every fluorescent panel working, dust-free, clean, like it had never been abandoned. And halfway down, a crash cart sat outside room 148, drawer open, defibrillator charged, waiting. The door was already cracked. Inside was a child, maybe 8 years old, lying in the bed, still, monitor flatlined. No staff, no family. The room looked active, fully equipped, current model machines and monitors, not the outdated equipment that should have been there. I froze. Then the monitor emitted a single beep. One spike. The child's chest rose sharply, then flatline again. Another beep. Another breath. Each one delayed, like his body was obeying the sound rather than generating it. I stepped closer. There was no patient bracelet, no chart, just a clipboard at the foot of the bed. I picked it up. Patient name, blank. Admitting physician, blank. Time of event, 2:03. Cause, awaiting assignment. The intercom clicked overhead, inside the room this time. Code blue, room 148. The same voice, but softer, closer. The monitor beeped again. The child inhaled. His eyes opened, wide, focused directly on me. Too slow, he said. His mouth didn't move until after the words. A half-second lag. I backed toward the door. It slammed shut. The monitor started beeping faster. With every beep, he sat up a little more. Not naturally. Segmented, like frames loading. His head first, then shoulders, then torso. Each movement arriving after the sound that triggered it. I grabbed the handle. Locked. The intercom clicked again. Additional responder assigned. The clipboard in my hand updated. Nurse on response. My name. The timestamp filled in beneath it. 023. I checked my watch. 016. 13 minutes late. The child swung his legs over the side of the bed. Too precisely. Every angle exact. He stood. The monitor stopped. He stayed upright. Then the beeping resumed, from the hallway outside. Another monitor. Another room. The child turned toward the wall, tilting his head like he was listening. "Next one," he said. The door unlocked. I ran. The hallway had changed. Doors lined both sides now, not just storage rooms, occupied rooms. Every call light blinking, every monitor inside beeping at different intervals, and behind each door, movement. Patients sitting up in delayed sync, waiting for their sound. The intercom announced another code, then another: adult, pediatric, trauma, respiratory failure. Rooms that didn't exist. Rooms that belonged to active wings. Rooms I'd just walked past. Each code was followed by a monitor tone somewhere nearby, and each tone triggered movement. I ran back toward the main hospital. The east wing doors were gone, just more hallway, stretching, repeating. I passed room 148 3 times. Each time the child was closer to the doorway, watching. At the 4th pass, he was standing in the hall, the clipboard tucked under one arm, checking names, crossing some out, adding others. He looked up as I approached. "You missed your first response," he said, "so now you cover all of them." The intercom crackled overhead. "Mass casualty event, full activation." Every call light turned solid, every monitor synchronized. One long, continuous tone. The walls vibrated with it. Doors began opening, one by one. Patients stepping into the hall. Adults, children, some in gowns from decades apart, some with outdated equipment still attached, all moving slightly out of sync like they were buffering, and all of them turning toward me. The child handed me the clipboard. I didn't take it. It still ended up in my hands. The pages were filled now. Room numbers, patient names, conditions. Every line assigned to me. At the bottom was one final entry. Room 148. Patient pending. Status critical. I looked up. The child was gone. The hallway lights cut out. When they came back, I was standing at the nurse's station. Normal noise, normal staff. Everything exactly where it should be. The charge nurse asked if I was okay, said I'd been staring at the blank intercom panel for almost 10 minutes. I checked the overhead log. No pages, no code announcements, nothing. Then my workstation screen refreshed. A new patient had been added to the floor. Room assignment 148. No such room. No identifying information. Just current status. Code blue. Awaiting response. And the intercom just said my name. The MRI machine printed a full scan for a patient who hadn't arrived yet, and the images showed a fracture he wouldn't suffer until 40 minutes later. I was covering radiology during the overnight shift when the printer beside Scanner 2 started spitting out film at 01:08 a.m. That alone was unusual. Nobody prints physical scans anymore unless the system glitches. I pulled the pages out. Patient, Daniel Mercer, male, 32. Scheduled arrival, 01:47. The timestamp on the scan was 01:06, 41 minutes before intake. I assumed it was a test file, some old image accidentally queued. But when I held the film to the light panel, I saw the break clearly. Compound fracture, left tibia. Fresh, jagged. The kind of injury you get from high-impact compression. The chart attached showed accompanying trauma notes: elevated intracranial pressure, internal bruising, mild pulmonary collapse. all documented, all time-stamped 0109, and the admission field still read, pending arrival. I checked the scheduling system. There he was. Mercer, Daniel, ETA 147, transferred from a highway collision 20 miles north. No further details. No uploaded imaging. Nothing that should have generated what I was holding. At 1:44, the ambulance arrived, 3 minutes early. I went down to receiving. When they wheeled him in, I felt my stomach drop. The left leg racked and immobilized, blood soaking through exactly where the scan showed the fracture. The paramedic rattled off the injuries. Every one matched the printout, word for word. I asked what time the accident happened. About 1:30, he said. 24 minutes after the MRI was completed. I told no one. I should have. Instead, I followed him back to radiology. Needed to see if the scan would match further imaging. It did. Perfectly. Every break, every bruise, even microfractures too small to notice on initial review. The attending called it the cleanest predictive alignment he'd ever seen before catching himself and pretending he'd misspoken. Predictive. He laughed it off. But he'd said it. At 2:12, scanner 2 powered on by itself. No patient loaded. No tech-initiated sequence. The room lights dimmed to scan mode. The table slid inward. Empty. The machine began imaging. I watched through the glass. The coils adjusted around nothing. The magnets ramped up. And from inside the bore came a sound I'd never heard before. Breathing. Slow. Measured. Not mechanical. Human. The scan completed. Another printout. Same patient. Daniel Mercer. Timestamp 2:13. I grabbed the film. The fracture was gone. Bone fully intact. No trauma. No swelling. But there was something else. A dense, dark mass in the chest cavity. Perfectly centered. Too symmetrical to be organic. Almost geometric. Like a shape inserted into anatomy. The radiologist on call was asleep in the break room. I woke him, showed him the images. He stared for a long time, then quietly asked where I'd gotten the post-procedure set. There had been no procedure. He looked back at the timestamp. His face changed. He walked straight to Mercer's room. I followed. The patient was awake now, alert. No pain meds yet. He was staring at the ceiling like he was listening to something above him. The radiologist asked how he felt. Mercer answered without looking away. Better after the second scan. There hadn't been a second scan. The radiologist asked what he meant. Mercer finally looked at us. The one after the correction. Neither of us responded. He smiled slightly. You're behind again. That phrase, something about the way he said it made my skin crawl, like he'd repeated it many times. Back in radiology, scanner 2 was still on, waiting. Its screen displayed, "Next subject ready." No patient ID, no order, just that message. The table was extended. Invitation. The radiologist reached for the shutdown control. The system denied access. Password rejected. Override denied. Then the intercom inside the MRI suite clicked on. Not the hospital intercom, the scanner's internal speaker. Correction window active. The voice was synthetic, but uneven, like multiple recordings layered slightly out of sync. The table moved, not inward,
out toward us, and stopped.
A patient was on it. No one had entered. No doors had opened. He was simply there. Same gown as Mercer, same build, same face, but uninjured. No fractures, no bruising, no blood. His eyes were open, tracking us. He sat up slowly, like someone remembering how. The radiologist stumbled back. The patient stepped off the table. His hospital bracelet was blank. No barcode, no text. He looked at me. Which one came first? I couldn't answer. He smiled. Wrong question. Then he walked out of the suite. The door opened for him. No badge scan, no resistance. We followed into the hallway. Empty. Gone. At 2:28, alarms erupted from Mercer's actual room. We ran. He was seizing violently, his leg restraints snapping taut, monitor spiking, and his body, his left leg, was straightening. The fracture physically correcting itself. Bone shifting under skin, realigning. He screamed once, then stopped. The monitor stabilized instantly. X-rays afterward showed no break, no evidence it had ever happened. The original intake scans were gone from the system, replaced by clean images. Only the printed films remained. Both sets, before and after. At 3:01, Scanner 2 printed again. One page this time. No image, just text. Patient, me. Timestamp, 3:44. Status, correction successful. Procedure notes, subject finally arrived. It's 3:19 right now. I'm in the control room staring at the scanner. The table is already extended. And on the screen, under current occupancy, it says, I'm inside. The overhead speakers paged Dr. Malcolm Reeves to the ICU at 2:17 a.m. And 3 minutes later, a patient who had been dead for 47 minutes sat upright and asked where he was. I know the name because Reeves' portrait still hangs in the administrative hallway. Chief of Surgery, 1998 to 2006. He died in this hospital after collapsing during an operation. Cardiac arrest. Couldn't be revived. That's the official story. The unofficial one is stranger. People say his final surgery never ended. No one explains what that means. The first page came while I was updating charts. Dr. Reeves to ICU, Dr. Reeves to ICU. Calm. Routine. Like he was just late. No one reacted. Not even the older staff. I asked the charge nurse if she heard it. She looked confused. Heard what? Then room 12's monitor alarmed. The patient had been pronounced dead at 1:30. Elderly male. Massive stroke. Family already notified. Body still waiting for transport. I ran in. He was sitting straight up in bed, eyes open. Skin still grey with post-mortem pallor, but alert, looking toward the door. Finally, he said. His voice sounded dry, unused. Tell him he's late again. Then he collapsed. Flatline. No spontaneous recovery. Just dead. Again. The physician on duty wrote it off as terminal electrical discharge, a final neural event. I almost let myself believe that. Then the speakers paged Dr. Reeves again. 2:41, this time to surgical recovery. I was already moving before the announcement finished. Recovery room 5, young woman, post-op appendectomy, healthy, stable. As I reached the room, her monitor shut off completely. Screen black, but I could hear her heartbeat, loud. Not through the monitor, through the wall. A rhythmic thudding from inside the drywall behind her bed. She opened her eyes, turned her head slowly toward me. "He changed the incision," she said. "What?" "He always does." I checked her chart. The operative notes were different, not corrupted. Revised. The appendectomy was gone, replaced by exploratory thoracic entry. Attending surgeon, Malcolm Reeves. Time-stamped 2:39. I looked at her abdomen. No dressing, no incision. Then she lifted the blanket. There was a fresh closure line across her chest, still bleeding lightly through the sutures, exactly where the chart said. I called for help. No response. The phones emitted only static, and underneath the static, breathing, slow, close, as if someone were standing on the other end, listening. The speakers crackled. "Reeves has entered the unit." This time the voice wasn't automated. It was human. Male. Calm, almost amused. The lights dimmed across the hallway. Every patient monitor on the floor switched to the same rhythm. One beat every 4 seconds. Impossible, but synchronized. Recovery room doors started opening, one by one. Patients stepped into the hall, still attached to IV poles, fresh bandages, blank expressions, walking with the careful precision of people moving under instruction. All of them turned toward the surgical wing and started walking. I followed because standing still somehow felt worse. The procession moved silently. No footsteps, no wheels squeaking. Just that slow, synchronized monitor tone echoing from every room. It led to Operating Theater 3, closed for years after Reeves died there. Biohazard seal still technically in place. Tonight, the doors were open. The OR lights blazed inside, and surgery was already underway. No staff, no visible surgeon, but instruments moved above the table in precise arcs. Cutting, clamping, suturing. Operating on a patient I recognized immediately. Me. Not exactly me. Close enough. Same face, same build, same scar on my left shoulder from when I broke my collarbone at 16. I couldn't move. The version of me on the table was awake, eyes open, watching the ceiling, not resisting. A chart hung at the foot of the bed. I stepped closer. Patient, replacement candidate. Procedure, continuity revision. Attending, Dr. Malcolm Reeves. Status, delayed. The body on the table turned its head toward me. "You're making him wait," it said. Its voice was mine. The instruments stopped moving, hovering. The overhead speaker clicked. "Dr. Reeves requires consent." Every patient behind me raised one hand, at exactly the same angle, like a vote. The doors slammed shut, locking us inside. The monitor tone accelerated. The instruments shifted toward me, not the body on the table. Me. I backed into the doors, wouldn't budge. The body sat upright, no effort, no strain. Its chest was open,
Inside, there was no heart, no lungs. Just rows of patient ID bracelets woven together into something that pulsed. Thousands of them. Some old and yellowed, some fresh, all tightening and loosening like muscle. The body smiled. He rebuilds with what's left. The OR lights went out. Total darkness. Then came the sound of gloves snapping into place. Multiple pairs, surrounding me.
Metal trays rolling closer. A man's voice near my ear. Something cold touched my chest. The lights returned. I was alone in the hallway outside Theatre 3. No patients. No open doors. No sounds. Normal night shift noise from distant stations. My scrub top was soaked through. I looked down. A fresh incision line ran down the center of my chest. Perfectly sutured. No blood. Just tenderness. The surgical log updated at that exact moment. 2:58. Procedure complete. Lead surgeon, Dr. Malcolm Reeves. Outcome, successful transfer. I checked the patient name. It wasn't mine. It was his. And under current hospital staff, there's now a new active badge listed in the system. Malcolm Reeves, cardiac surgery. Clocked in at 2:17, using my employee ID.